Hi, welcome to another edition of Bringing Hope to Alzheimer's. I'm Ann Fraser, and today we're going to talk about the different steps that you might want to go through as a family once someone in your family has been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's. So let's start out with once that person is diagnosed, you want to make sure that you're starting to get so many of the affairs in order. For instance, definitely you're going to want to make sure that you have an attorney on board and you're looking at power of attorney, medical power of attorney, trusts, are all of that person's assets in a trust so you don't have to worry about probate. There's a lot of legalities that you'll want to make sure that you have in order so as you're caring for your loved one, those things are taken care of from the get-go, because that will really, really help you in the end when things are not so easy and you're really, really struggling with their health and with their decline. The next thing that I would suggest is not only you're already probably seeing their medical professional, a neurologist. I think it's always great to get that other piece of information, which is like functional medicine or integrative medicine on board. Because remember, one of my biggest things that I like to talk about is making sure that you're optimizing their health and their brain health. Again, I'm always speaking out of my own experiences that I've had with my family and my own personal experiences. After you've taken care of those two things I would say would be the most important on the front end of things. And then after that, what you're going to want to do is start thinking about what stage is that person at? Are they at the beginning stages? Are they mid stages? What kind of dementia do they have? And that's going to help you figure out what you're going to do for their care. So are you going to keep them in their home as long as possible? And on our podcast, we've had and will continue to have great resources for not only Kansas City, but a lot of them, they are nationwide companies that have great resources towards being able to bring care into the home and making sure that your loved one is comfortable and staying where they're at. Or you might choose to look at taking your loved one and looking at a lot of different communities. There's wonderful communities, and sometimes there's not so wonderful communities. But you want to find one that you feel comfortable in, that fits your loved one's budget, that fits their needs, and you have a real good sense of that they're going to be taken care of in the way that you want them and to that ability that you feel like they're going to be at. The other option that you have is moving them in with a loved one. That is the route that we went with. I actually moved in, we moved them to a villa, and I stayed with them most of the time. And then a couple days a week, I would take my parents to my home so I could sleep in my own bed, and they would stay at my home. As they got a little bit further into their disease, it was hard for them because it was that getting out of their routine. So that lasted for a while. But the biggest thing that you want to do is, and it might be a combination of all of those. They stay at home for a while, they live with a loved one for a while, and then they move into memory care. But you want to make sure that you kind of start checking those things out because there are places that have waiting lists. And so it's really great to go out, and we've had some guests on our show that have been able to talk about there are companies that can take you out and help you walk through that, because there's a lot of information and there's a lot of things that you may not know to ask up front. So you can either have somebody help you go look for some of the communities, or you can go out and check them out. But I would highly recommend checking out a lot of them so you can really start to see the differences of care and the quality of that community. So that would be another huge piece that you would want to get taken care of and start on that a little bit earlier. Then after that, I would say getting into some kind of a support group is huge. It starts to become a lot. It starts to become something that you feel like, I'm the only one going through this right now. It can be isolating. It's frustrating. There's a lot of things going on. And so getting into a great support group, I know here in Kansas City, we have so many support groups at different communities, at the Alzheimer's Association, at all kinds of places all around town, and they are fabulous. So that would be helpful just so you can kind of get an idea of maybe where your loved one might be going or different resources, and really just putting other people's heads together really helps out a lot. And so I think that would be huge to get that support. And as time goes on, you're going to start figuring out, when it's time to get hospice on board. And we've talked about that on our show a little bit. But there's so many parts and pieces to this that really understanding what to get done first and kind of get things taken care of, it is imperative that you get those things talked about as a family and really get everybody kind of on the same page, because there's nothing worse than having to be reactive instead of proactive. Because when you've waited too long and your loved one's been at home and they haven't had the care or whatever, and they've had a fall or something has gone downhill very quickly and you're scrambling, there's a lot of things that you might not be able to get taken care of as quickly as you would want to. So if I had anything to say to you about all of this would be, I want to encourage you to go ahead and get those things in place. And as always, if you ever have any questions or if you want to talk about anything, please let us know. I'd love to visit with you. And thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.